Hello there, and welcome to a very special episode of Electric Sheep. This is our 178 subscriber special, so thank you all for watching and subscribing. Couldn't do it without you. Wouldn't want to do it without you. It's just so much better when there's a person who has a chance of seeing these videos, even if you don't see them. You could just think about it. Well, I would like somebody to watch them, but that's neither here nor there. So without any further delay, let's listen to a story called Looping.
Looping up. In the beginning there was a door. It stood in the middle of a white room, not locked, not open, simply waiting. The narrator, because there must be one, knew without being told that the door mattered. Everything does at first. A hand reached for the handle. The door opened. On the other side was the same white room, the same door, the same hand reaching for the handle. The narrator frowned, sensing an ending too early, like a sentence cut off by its own punctuation. The hand hesitated. The door closed. The end. In the beginning there was a door. It stood in the middle of a white room, not locked, not open, simply waiting. This time, the narrator remembered the last ending and refused to let it be so small. A hand reached for the handle. The door opened. On the other side was a field at dusk, tall grass bending under a violet sky. Wind carried the smell of rain and something like forgiveness. The narrator smiled. This felt like progress. The hand stepped through, the door vanished, the field darkened, the sky collapsed inward like paper soaked in ink. There was no ground, there was no wind, there was only the realization. The door was gone, because it was needed again. The end. In the beginning there was a door. It stood in the middle of a white room, not locked, not open, simply waiting. The narrator was tired now, but stubborn. Patterns only win when you stop looking at them. A hand reached for the handle. The door opened. On the other side was a city, endless and humming, screens stacked on screens, faces reflected in glass that never showed eyes. Voices spoke in fragments, almost later update available. The hand walked forward, years passed in a paragraph. The city promised meaning, but sold distraction, promised connection, but delivered mirrors. At the center of it all stood a familiar shape. A door. White. Waiting. The narrator laughed, because of course it was there. The hand touched the handle. The end. In the beginning there was a door. It stood in the middle of a white room, not locked, not open, simply waiting. This time the narrator did not describe it as important. A hand did not reach for the handle. The room grew quiet, offended by being ignored. Cracks formed in the white walls. The door rattled, impatient. Time passed without ceremony. Finally, the door spoke. "If you don't open me," it said, "nothing happens." The hand turned away. The room dimmed. The narrator held their breath. Nothing happened. Nothing kept happening. The door screamed itself into silence. The end. In the beginning there was a door. It stood in the middle of a white room, not locked, not open, simply waiting. The narrator understood now. The door was not a test, or a trap, or a promise. It was a habit. A hand reached for the handle. The door opened. On the other side was the same white room, but this time there was no door. Only a person standing where it used to be, hand lowered, breathing. The narrator did not restart. The person looked around, unsure, then sat on the floor. The room stayed white. Time moved forward instead of around. Nothing looped. Nothing demanded to be opened. And if this felt familiar, that was only because beginnings and endings sometimes share the same shape, not because the story was starting again. The end, no longer looping.
Well, I really like this story. Um, I didn't write an outline for this as much as I wrote um, instructions to write a story that looped around again until it didn't loop around. It was a little more complicated of a suggestion than that, but it was something along those lines, and it definitely fulfilled that. I really like the idea that the story keeps looping around, and if you choose to do nothing and not progress the story, then the whole thing just falls apart, and that's just another ending you can get to, is doing nothing leads to nothing, and it's like the whole universe rips apart, like the end of Donnie Darko or something. Um, And then there was this line, "The hand walks through the door." I I don't know what quite to make of that. Obviously, you could just assume it means the person with the hand, the narrator who walks through the door. But I also just picture a finger walked like doo, 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 doo. Not that I'm doing it very well. Need a surface to walk on. Walk through the door. How else does a hand walk through a door? Uh, but yeah, I really like the just the experience of the story, the looping around again and again. It's true to its name, and I had to add at the end, uh, no longer looping, because I like my stories to end with the beginning, even though this was actually not ending with the looping beginning the way it was before, but I did want it to end with the title, Looping, and certainly was. Yeah, I like little experimental stories like this that take the reader on a ride as much as the narrator. And the narrator wasn't really the narrator because I didn't really narrate anything. Uh, I thought that was kind of funny, or maybe it was saying that the person narrating the whole story was actually going through those exact things. That makes sense. That makes sense. It just never referred to the narrator as I. It just seemed like there was an actual narrator and a character referred to as the narrator. Both concepts are kind of interesting. Just having a character named the narrator that is actually a wordless character that says nothing is an interesting contradiction. But yeah, let me know if you like this story or not. I'm Captain Canada, Joseph Arthur Roszell. I want to thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing. I want to wish you all the luck in the universe. I love you, and I want you to know that suicide is never the answer. All right, peace out for now.